So let's just roll into it. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Welcome, everybody. Been the first time. Oh, let's see here. I've done one of these in. Mason, when was the last time? It's been probably 6 weeks. Yeah, so I kind of forget how to do this whole thing. But I got Kyle Green from Greenway Outdoors with me here today, and he's way more experienced at the whole podcast thing. So I should just let him run the show, and he can interview me. Or we're just going to talk about recent things that we've been doing here. He just got back from Africa, South Africa, 20 days, right?
Yep.
Let's see here. Before he left, we were finishing up first production run on the Boston Unleaded steel small game load, and you were able to squeak some in country.
Oh, yeah, there was a limit on how many I could take. It was only 40 shells each.
That was a South African law?
Yeah, so like you can only take 40 rounds of whatever guns you bring into the country. So Total.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you took how many?
40. Yeah, and then I was able to bring 40 rifle loads, which I didn't need. I only needed 3 of those, but
okay. So it's 40 per gun.
40 per gun, yep.
Okay. What rifle did you carry?
So I used a 110 Climb by Savage, which I actually got to make myself at the
110, yep.
at the factory.
What caliber?
And that I shot 300 Win Mag. I think everyone needs a 300 Win Mag in their life, so I went with that.
It's like a 308 on steroids, right?
Yep, and I was shooting Nosler ammunition. It's a 180 grain bullet, but they're just phenomenal. And we were shooting Nosler ammunition, and they've also got a really cool E-tip bullet that is non-tox. It's copper, 100%.
That's what you shot?
Uh-huh.
So I've heard, I'm not a big game rifle hunter, but talking to, it might have been you, and some other research I did, guys are getting more lethal performance with this copper rifle slug now.
Yeah.
Right? How are they doing it?
Well, it's pretty interesting because when copper bullets first came out, everybody was super resistant to it because they're like, they would use it and that thing would go right through and the hole would only be as big as it was because obviously copper is going to have 100% retention through. When a lead bullet hits a big animal, it's typically going to fragment quite a bit. We want that mushrooming, but it's going to fragment, meaning it's going to lose about 20% of its bullet. That's a typical amount you're going to lose.
To fragmentation. Okay.
Yeah, so, and we've done tests on the gel blocks and stuff to show that. So then with the copper bullet, though, you're going to have 100% retention. And
then you get the deformation now. They engineered that in.
Exactly. And
with partitions, or what are they doing?
No, they've just made the 100% copper bullet. They've made it so it can mushroom now. And we did the tests on it, and it was leaving like giant boat tails through the gel block. That was really impressive.
Tumbling.
Yes. Like big pieces of it, but not fragmenting. Just spreading out so much. And what's cool about the copper bullets, too, is for like, if you're taking a kid out and let's say they're going to be punching above their weight a little bit when they're going to go hunt whitetail deer. And yes, 243 is big enough for a whitetail deer if you hit it in the right spot and stuff. But no one could argue that it's at least on the light side. Okay? The 243 is a little
whitetail? No
for
way.
whitetail. Yeah, I would say it's on the light side compared to the 270 or the 308 or the most bullets people use. If you looked at like a graph of all the whitetail bullets most commonly used, 243 would be on the smaller side. So with that, you're going to have someone shoot a 243 like a kid or something, so they've got little kick and it's an easy bullet to shoot. It might be a 90 grain bullet or whatever it is, but they're going to shoot that. With the copper, they're going to have 100% weight retention with the bullet. They're not going to lose the 20%.
And less recoil because lighter bullet.
Exactly, so it kind of helps them punch above their weight a little bit with the size.
What about velocities? Is it similar to lead jacketed ammo?
Yeah, they're right around in the same.
So they're not overspeeding and they're not slowing them down.
No, it's pretty comparable.
What about accuracy?
I've noticed no difference whatsoever.
Really?
As a matter of fact, I'll say this.
So even just rifling patterns and like 1 and 9 or whatever it is, 1 and 7 for 223, that type of thing.
Yeah.
It can spin a lighter bullet just fine.
Just fine. Yeah, we're seeing no difference. And I'll tell you this. You know the intricacies of your business, and so does John Nosler and the other people that work there. Yeah. And when they go to Africa, they shoot copper.
Really?
But the thing is, and you've dealt with this obviously since you started, bosses, they get so much pushback. If you push copper or you push non-toxic ammunition, then the lead people come after you. And because Nosler still sells a lot of different lead ammunitions and that are great, they don't want to push the copper because they know
you don't turn your audience off.
People are going to be coming for you.
Well, and there's still a lot of business to be made. I guess lead still is viable, right? But us starting off never having been in the lead business, I want to stay out of it for personal reasons, business reasons, personal reasons, environmental reasons. So I think maybe that's why like we get targeted from time to time by people whose opinions I really could give a shit less about.
Yeah, I think that's something we should dive into because Boss Unleaded, obviously that load that I got to take to South Africa, and I got to talk about the performance when we get time here.
Yeah,
but
go for it.
But Boss Unleaded is obviously steel shot, and when you tell people that, there's like a bunch of people that are reserved about it, and
I'm one of them.
Right.
Still, I mean, even though like I know that we did with Steel Reserve, kind of to diversify the brand and kind of go in different directions and cater to audiences that we didn't already have in our camp.
Meaning like you had a shell that was good out to 35, 40 yards that was less expensive for people.
Right, and then people are going to talk about like, hey, it works well beyond that, and that's fine, but I don't want to have those conversations.
Sure.
I'm not going to promote that. But then this whole thing with Unleaded kind of came about for two reasons. We wanted to develop a target load. During COVID years, we ended up buying a mountain of powder before all of the stuff went really crazy. This has been like, when did everything get shut down? That had been like April? So I want to say May, we bought up whatever we could before everyone else, kind of caught on. So we sat on this powder for now, 5 years and hadn't really used it for much of anything. So I thought, hey, off season, let's jump into this target game and be able to sell ammunition to our existing customer base that's going to go shoot target loads, trap, skeet, sporting clays, whatever, when they're not duck hunting or goose hunting. So that's kind of where that whole thing started. Then we were messing around with different velocities, going everywhere from like 1,200 up to 1,350, 1,400 feet per second, and took it down just for fun on one of my hunts down in Georgia, and we shot quail with it, and then we shot ducks, and we shot even pheasants with it, with the higher velocity stuff. So I don't know if I ever said it on the podcast or not, but I killed a pheasant like a left to right crosser. Honestly, got 70 yards because I stepped off where that bird was in the direct line that it was flying perpendicular to me. It was 70 yards. So there's no way that I could talk myself into believing that like you completely just smash this bird at that distance, but clearly it was like dead when it was still in the air. So it was like the lucky pellet or whatever, right? Lucky pellet. So it led me to believe that there is a way to make a small shot, non-toxic, low density product that has effective killing range, even though it shouldn't. But the people that say, let me say that, the people that say that steel doesn't work aren't ballisticians, and ballisticians aren't hunters. So you kind of have to like take everyone's opinion based upon scientific fact with ballistics and energy and ballistic gel penetration, and forget the opinions of people that just like to talk shit and put it to work and see if it's actually going to work. Mm-hmm. And you were one of the guys that actually went out and killed all kinds of shit with it.
It's insane. I
mean,
what
was it that you used? So I heard doves, I heard pheasants. But it's just like a standard like ringneck pheasant?
No. Different pheasants, actually. And I can't remember all the names. They were very funky names. And
but they look like pheasants. Same size as like a pheasant we have here.
Some were smaller, some were the same size.
Okay.
They don't have tails, the pheasants that are in South Africa, so they don't have tails. We shot multiple different species of ducks. I'm going to say not ducks, multiple different species of doves. Mm-hmm. There was 3 there. 3 were killed with Boss Unleaded. I only killed 2. They've got the laughing dove, which is like a little one. They've got the ringneck dove. And then they've got one that they were calling a rock pigeon, whereas we call pigeons here rock doves.
Okay.
But their rock pigeon looked like a pigeon, but wasn't as big as our pigeons, but was definitely bigger than a dove. Mm-hmm. So we shot those. And I shot pheasants at some pretty impressive distances. I folded one at, I think it was probably like 45 yards.
The chances is they're going to come up beyond the corner over here.
I got it. Wow, great shot.
Straightaway shot from me, and it was KO dead. And when you're shooting it in the back, I've noticed a lot of times when you're shooting a bird that's going straight away from you, it's a little harder to have dead on impact because their head isn't out, their head's typically blocked, and you're just hitting wings in their butt, you know. But the most impressive thing, bar none, 100%, what made me a believer beyond anything was guinea fowl. So when people have probably heard of guinea fowl, you can like get them here in the States for like farm animals and stuff, and like people like them because they'll get like one if they have a bunch of chickens, because that thing will sit up all night looking for predators, and if something comes, it'll just start screaming like a car alarm. They call them like the car alarms of the bird world. Yeah, they're pretty interesting, and they've got these beautiful patterns on them. It's like all black feathers with spots all over them, and they're absolutely gorgeous. And like the really big males will have a big thing on their head. And the second bird I killed after the pheasant was a guinea fowl, and I'm getting it mounted for you to bring in here.
So what makes them tough?
Yeah. So like when you handle them, you get a very turkey feather type of vibe. Like so they're tough. Like you can't shoot a turkey anywhere but in the head. With these guys, you can get away. Obviously, you can shoot them in the body, like because you're shooting them like a pheasant.
Yep.
They're a little bit bigger than our ringneck pheasants. Their body is stockier. Yeah, they're stockier than our pheasants for sure. Matter of fact, a small guinea fowl would be like the size of one of our pheasants. I mean, some of the ones I was shooting were big, but they're just stocky and they're really tough. And the guides that we were hunting with there, that's all they do is hunt guinea fowl. They're like, listen, you're going to shoot them. And they're like, when I told them what I was using, they go, that's cute. But when you shoot them, they're going to run. And you have to be prepared to keep shooting. Reload that. Have them in your pocket because you're going to have to reload and shoot them again. They do not die on impact, period. And I was like, no, what we're using is really good. They're like, yeah, okay. Like they've seen it all.
Yeah, and you said that they're shooting lead 5s and 6s?
Yeah, so I saw them shooting lead 4s, 5s, and 6s. But most of them, like if we knew we were going to go jump guinea fowl, and I can talk to you about how you hunt them too, it's very interesting. It's like there's all these big fields that are big squares, but they're like a mile wide, right? Like they're a mile square.
Just
farmland.
Like savannah. Okay, so it's what are they farming on?
So corn or sunflowers. So everything's corn and sunflowers.
And this is going into their fall, so like you're going right up about harvest time.
Yeah, we're at harvest time.
Okay.
Like a lot, they had just harvested the field that we hunted doves over actually, and the sunflowers were starting to turn rotten or black when they get ready to harvest them for the oil. So we were like right at the end of fall there. Anyhow, so what you would do is we would drive around with the trucks, and you would spot a big group of guinea fowl. They might be in the middle of the field, like turkeys. They look like out there, you know, or maybe they were in the sunflowers or whatever it might be. And then you would try and, like, if you drove to them, they would get up and fly, and they would go into something taller. So typically the sunflower fields. Then what we would do, we would send people out to walk the fields to try and flush the birds in a direction. So they'd yelling, screaming, walking and stuff. And then hopefully the guinea fowl would like get pushed to the edge of the cover, then pop up, and then you'd be able to shoot them. But they're very smart. It was like, it was like hunting smart turkeys. Like they outsmarted us. I think it was like 7 or 8 times of them trying. And this is all these people do. Of them trying to get them to flush where they wanted, and the guinea fowl not playing along or doubling back on them. Or it's like they've been hunted,
Yeah.
And they're running a guide service probably on like these fields all the time. So these guinea fowl have seen some stuff, you know. But anyhow, the one night we were about done, all the cameras were dead, and everybody was all wrapped up, and it was almost dark. There's no like hunting times there, so it doesn't matter. And we saw them go into these trees to like for the night. So they sent the guys in to like wrestle them up and scare them, and we went on just the far side of the road, and we were hiding in the ditch. And out comes the first guinea fowl out of the group, and the guy's like, he's like, go ahead and shoot it. And it's like probably 40 yards, and I lift up, and it was the skeet choke first. And I shoot, and that thing just folds, just drops right out of the sky, hits the dirt hard, and then another one comes out from the shot. He's more than 55, 60 yards away. I shoot him. I've got an improved modified for my second shot in the over-under, fold him up. That kicks off chaos, right? Like 50 birds kick up, and then everybody around me, there's like 5 or 6 of us, they're all shooting lead. They start shooting and dropping birds, and they're falling like rain. Like, it's crazy because they're all going from this way to over us, and we're ambushing them pretty well. I reload, shoot 2 more. Boom, stone dead. Boom, stone dead. Everybody else shooting, and this is hand on the Holy Bible. I wish we had a lie detector test to hook me up to, and we have plenty of footage to prove my point, so I'm not too worried about it. But everybody else is shooting lead. We dropped maybe 7 or 8 other guinea fowl. As soon as they hit the ground, they got on legs and went. It was like you'd fold them up and get it, like the guy said would happen. Yeah. And So then it comes time too where they're like rushing to bring the dogs out before it's too dark. Everyone's trying to use flashlights to go swat these guinea fowl to finish them off or find them if they're tucked down or whatever it might be. So everyone's stomping through this really tall brush looking for them. AJ's driving up wondering what the hell we're doing. And he's like, I heard 1 million shots. What's going on? But we're all looking. I go right to my 4 birds, pick them up. They're all stone dead. We recovered one other bird out of the other birds that were shot with lead. One other bird. And I would say that on the Holy Bible. I would sign it in blood.
Even as the guy that
they weren't close shots.
Develop this, it's our product. It almost sounds like BS. Like
I know
to be true.
I know.
And
what am I supposed to say?
I know it's like a faith thing, right? Like you have to believe it.
Right.
Nothing's ever going to like hit you square in the face until you try it and do it on your own.
Right.
I shot ducks with this stuff, but again, like 30 yards, you start, unless you shoot them in the face, they start flying away. Mm-hmm. Just the reality of it.
Right.
This isn't going to be like tungsten-like performance, for 10% of the...
It's not 7 steel.
Yeah, it's 7-shot steel.
Yeah.
But...
Well, the good thing is, too, as it continued, it was funny how when we started out with the people we were hunting with, they were kind of talking a little bit of trash because they're like, for guinea fowl, you need 4s. Like, you didn't bring the right ammo. That's what they said. And then I was even apprehensive because I'm like, 7 steel? Like,
yeah, let's see what we can do. Yeah.
I'm a little nervous. Mm-hmm. And so then we ended up going out and we were going to hunt guinea fowl again. And we were flushing up a group. And I have one break, and this is on film, at about 60 to 65 yards. I shoot that thing clear out of the sky because Jeffrey refuses to pull the trigger for some reason. The kid's blind as a bat, I guess. But this bird flies right over him. I get it. It was like kind of high, but he's like, huh? And AJ's like, shoot the gun. And then I went this way, waited till it cleared out of his, over him, and then shot it. And I'm way too far away to be shooting, but I shoot it, folded it up, dead. And that's the one I'm getting mounted for you because it was crystal clear in the camera. But here's what I did. Yeah. Let me finish because I got something else for you. All so because like I said, I'm a gifted salesman, so I know that. So I'm trying not to sound like a gifted salesman so in order to do that, and AJ and Ryan are really good at helping me with this too, our producer and director. I went over and I was like, okay, I shot that bird. We got it on film sailing down. So then we go over there. It's dead. I open the chamber and out comes the shell and the smoke. I pick up the shell, show the shell. Then I pick up the bird all in one shot because I don't want this to be artistic. I want it to be the truth. Then I pick up the bird. He's got a broken leg. He's got a broken wing. He's got shots that are in here through the meat, through the feathers, through everything, down in there, down. Good shot, tons, blood clotting, penetration, excellent stuff. And I show it. I pull the feathers aside. I go, let's look here. Look at the broken leg. Look, it's broken. Look at the wing. This is broken. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm showing you the reality. And I called you on the phone. I was almost in tears because, you were
revved up.
Well, I'm passionate about it. And to see it work that well, I'm like, oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I called you and I said, listen, now they all want to shoot it. So that you heard the guide on the phone. He goes, we'll buy all you got. Can we get it? They can't get it in South Africa. But if we would have, so that shows me that if people test this round and see it perform and you have someone that can shoot, not saying that I'm some great shot, I just did well then. But if you get it in people's hands to try, they won't go back. And then we were talking about it, and we were like cleaning the birds and whatnot. And I was like, now isn't it nice too that's like whatever shot is in there is just steel. Mm-hmm. Like you're not eating a lead pellet by happenstance.
We talked about that in years past. I know that kind of it should nerve anybody out. But like you think, oh, just a little bit. Like how much is a little bit too much? And I don't know. I never really. I don't dedicate a lot of time to studying, not even studying lead, but like toxicology stuff. I've read reports, and it's proven time and time over that little birds find lead pellets, they eat lead pellets, they end up dying.
Yeah.
But every time we go to a trade show or talk to people that are like hardcore lead shooters, we get called every name in the book, just like terrible. So it's not like we're going to keep doing what we do.
Right.
And I know over time the products are going to grow, but there's no like urgency for us to force this down people's throats. But in time, I think in our lifetime, we may very well see outright bans on lead ammunition. Mm-hmm. And I don't think
How do you feel about that?
I don't care because I know that we don't do lead now, so it's not like it's going to hurt our business. And I know that we can't produce every single shotgun shell for every single consumer in the country. So it's not necessarily going to be a direct result, like a direct factor in growing our business. But again, like, I'm indifferent when it comes to that. But at the same time, I've said earlier, I think I've told you that with the amount of pistol and rifle shooting that I do, getting to volunteer with the county, I probably shoot more lead at ranges in training days than I do shotgun shells now in an entire season. I mean, obviously living in Michigan, and then not hunting very often. So that's just kind of the way things are. So lead has its use. It has its uses.
Well, it can all be reclaimed at the range.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
absolutely can.
Yeah.
And same thing at like target ranges where they want to reclaim the lead. Even if they don't want to reclaim the lead, it's not like they're deploying all those pellets into like farm fields that could make their way into food one day, or have wild birds that are going to like. I don't think a wild bird population would want to be like feasting on clay targets and plastic wads. So like you don't have to worry about that. But at the same point, like I'm not anti-lead. I'm anti-lead in Boss.
Yeah. Well,
that's it. And the people that love lead are just they're brutal. But I'm not gonna let their opinions. I know the facts. I know enough to know that it's not for me. It's not for my employees. Not for their families. Not for our brand.
We made a video about it on our podcast, and Ryan made the point. He goes, "I can't believe we're arguing over whether or not you should consume lead." It's like at what point? Like, come on, that's a bit silly. For me, where I stand is like you do, and I give you a lot of credit because we see like the trolls and stuff in our Boss Shotshells fan page. You deal with trolls and stuff, and you never ban them, even when I think you should.
Well,
it's the First Amendment thing.
Yeah, I'm a big First Amendment guy, but at the same time, I will draw the line if people want to, and I don't want to. I'm not a litigious person by nature, but at the same point, I know how dangerous people's words and actions can be. And when people start talking about my brand or what we do or me personally or even you, like statements of fact that they promote as factual statements, like Kyle Green and his TV show Greenway Outdoors is all you need to know what that name Green. Well, they don't even know that your last name is Green. Right. They think you're this far left liberal, and then they're going on record stating it as fact. Right. That carries a lot of liability for that poor schmuck that wants to say that. But it's really like, how damaged does one have to be? And I think really the only thing is it just pisses you off and wants you to engage. But I'll have fun with it when I'm bored. But if I'm busy, that no longer registers on my radar. Right.
For me, I was so pumped about how well the target load did for me and how well the unleaded did for me that I was like, I am not going to let these two idiots have the last word on Boss because they're wrong. And I remember, like, when I grew up and I was buying shotgun shells and stuff, I got really nerdy on this stuff. Like, I wanted to know about the speed. And when, back well before Boss, when the shot came from Federal that had, like, the little spaceship-looking, things on it with their I forget what it was called.
Yeah, Black Cloud.
Black Cloud. And then they had the supersonic, and I was like, I would like buy all of them and then see which one did that. And I was just like, and it's like,
and then Winchester had the blind side.
The square looking ones.
Yeah, the cubic shaped one. Yeah.
Yep. So I like when all that was going on, I kind of like nerded out on it. But the way I would get my information and relay stuff is like back then, like chat rooms on the stuff were really popular.
And that's where you would take that information as fact.
100%, because then you were dealing with real people. And I will tell you that like through ice fishing and waterfowl, like the chat rooms and stuff that used to exist were actually really helpful for a young guy that was learning that stuff. Like they was really helpful.
There used to be good information out there. Now that was when people would have to search to find that information. Now there's, with the way the internet's evolved, I think in my lifetime, is the information you used to have to like dig and search for. Now there's so much of it, and you almost have to go like 3 or 4 different places before you can form your own opinion. Largely like how I absorb my news nowadays. Like I don't trust one news outlet as Bible. I'm going to go all over and form my own opinion because you have to. Right. Because there's so much bullshit that gets in the way.
Right. Yeah, so with that, I think part of it with the Boss Shotshells fan page, which is awesome. If you're not following it, you should be. It's on Facebook. there's some awesome aspects to it as well. But when you go there, it's like, I want the kid that's on there trying to learn what's going on to know the truth. That's where I come from, is like, I want the last word to be like, listen, kid, they're wrong because of this, and this.
Well, two things happen when people start banging on us. Number one, I come into work the next day, and you can see activity on sales. It has a direct impact on sales.
See, I don't get to see that part.
Absolutely it does. And secondly, it reinforces the message through like the people that support the brand actually know it.
Yeah.
People who know our values, they're familiar with first name basis with the people in our office,
Right.
or they know somebody here.
Right.
Those are where all that bullshit from the idiots just kind of washes out and goes by the wayside. So if any of these guys are going to watch this, like the more trolling we get, like I don't know who invented the whole term about like there's no such thing as bad publicity, that really does ring true. Like unless we have we have yet to have any episode where that's ever broken out where people want to talk shit about us that hasn't
done well. That's awesome. See, I didn't know that part. I didn't know that part.
So,
but yeah, for me,
they can keep talking. It doesn't bother me at all.
Well, and circling back to South Africa, so not only did I do that, we had a field day with the doves, and this is, I'm going to attempt to say this in a way that isn't so excitable because I am excited about it. So,
I'm still cautiously pessimistic and optimistic at the same time.
Okay,
I haven't killed enough stuff with it besides like quail. You can shoot a quail out as far as you want. I think you can kill quail further with steel of the same shot, give or take a shot size, 8s versus 7s.
Right.
We shot 7s and 8s number steel, and we could kill them as far as we wanted to within reason with a shot because you don't need that much energy to kill a quail. And we can hold a pattern together, as you saw prior to this when we were pattern testing stuff. The pattern densities are significantly denser than you can get with lead shot.
100%.
So in talking like two things, kill birds, pellet energy, pattern density. So if you can trade one for the other, it's a like exchange. But if I can overload that pattern with more pellets because they fly truer and there's more of them per ounce and still have adequate efficiency to kill the bird, why not shoot steel?
Yeah, again, because
it can. So another roundabout way, in certain applications, it can offer a performance advantage.
Boost.
That's where I'm going to it. Yeah, for the same money, maybe even a little bit less. I don't know. I think we price our stuff right in line with other non-toxics and even some other like premium lead-based ammo. And
you're not one of the big guys. So by you coming down to that price point, this is something a lot of people miss. By you guys coming down to that price point, it's cutting into your profits way more because it's harder for you guys to make a profit than it is the big guys.
Yeah, we give up margin on it, but at the same time, there's also strategy behind why we did this. I mean, it was COVID powder. We had excesses in. It was us trying to round out the brand, go in new markets, generate some off-season sales that wasn't so tied to the waterfowl hunting seasons. Another thing too, if I've got components to build stuff with, but trying to grow this brand financing with debt, and I've got to have collateral with my inventory. Why don't I pull stuff out of here that's otherwise sitting on the books that I can put into inventory on the floor? So even if I don't sell a whole mountain of this stuff, it still is helping our business accomplish its growth goals.
Right.
Working with the banks, that whole thing. I wish I didn't have to work with them. It's a necessary deal trying to scale a business and go through the shit we've had to go through the last several years. There's no other way short of me being, a billionaire to start this thing.
Right.
So
right.
I'm not.
I think that transparency is something that I have a lot of respect for, and why I work with you guys is because you're always transparent. You're so transparent that some people don't believe it because you're so transparent. You know what I mean? That's pretty honorable. But also like meeting all the people here. The reason why Greenway wanted to get involved with you guys is like meeting the people here, spending time with Dirk, spending time with your staff, seeing how everybody comes together like a family. Like it's really special.
So that would have been 2022 when you first started knocking on the door, and there was a lot going on that time period here that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
And then I heard you, because you're 2 hours from here, give or take?
3 hours, 10 minutes.
3:10. Okay, so you're 3 hours from here, but then you end up driving 10 hours?
Yep. Close to 11.
Just to get FaceTime with someone from this company, because no one here, whoever you were trying to contact, would return calls or answer the phone.
Yeah,
because you had a TV show and you wanted a Michigan company and a company that you were sort of familiar with, us, to. I couldn't believe this when I heard it. I have a TV show. I think it was a turkey hunt, right? I want to put your product on my TV show and give your company publicity, and I don't want any money for it. And when I heard this, I'm like, I made some really bad choices in life. I made some really good choices in life. And eliminating the roadblock that was standing in the way of a guy who believed in what we were doing, that felt so strongly about what we were doing, that wanted to give my small company an opportunity to have us on a TV program at no cost on History Channel. And I think you said, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
You're the number 4 most watched TV show on History Channel.
Yes, sir.
With how many viewings per week or how many airings?
We only had 1 each.
Okay,
and then streaming.
1. So 1 on that's put out.
Yeah.
And the other 3,
they get played all the time.
How many plays do they have?
Ryan might know, but probably 21.
Combined?
Yeah, 28, maybe more. No, each.
So 21 airings throughout the week. You get 1. You're number 4, and 1, 2, and 3.
And
get
5, 6, 7, and 8.
They get
way more airtime. Yeah, because we're like basically the only independent production that's working with History Channel, because everything else is like owned by them, under their thumb. Steve Ranella just came out with a show, but it's not his camera crew, it's theirs. Yeah. So you'll see, like, the other thing is, like, that comes with that is because they own it, there's huge publicity behind it and stuff like that, whereas the reason why they'll accept me is because they know the ratings will be good and they'll make money on that airtime slot with that, because they'll be able to sell their commercials based on my Nielsen ratings. So that's like how they why they deal with me, because I'm not exactly their favorite.
Why not?
Maybe because I'm a Christian conservative who carries guns and loves the Second Amendment. You know, not that I don't have anything bad to say about History Channel, especially right now.
But you don't fit their...
Exactly. I mean, it's a Disney-owned company, right? So History Channel, A&E, they're all under that window. So, like, we're a little bit different, you know what I mean?
They still play World War II in color, and they still do, like, all the...
Yeah, like, I don't have anything bad to say about them. We're happy to be working with them.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. But it's just, as far as advantages or disadvantages, we're kind of fighting with, like, an arm and a leg tied behind our back with it. But where we were really able to excel was the streaming. So we do kind of live in parallel universes in certain regards.
Yeah. Like, you're playing in the big leagues, and you're competing against, like, established production crews and everything else.
It's kind of funny. When we first started, we like, you have to be really careful how you portray yourself, because I learned this at a young age. Not as young as I wish I would have learned it when we first started the company. Is like, I was always under the impression that if I was passionate and worked really hard and people saw that, they'd want to help me. So I would approach meetings and I would approach different opportunities that way, like please help me. Like, this is my mission. This is my mission, and I know you love this mission. And that might have been the worst train of thought I've ever had.
Why? What happened?
The correct train of thought.
What happened then?
Nobody wants to work with people to help them if they're trying to run a business. They want to work with people that are the shit, that have their stuff together, and that's who they want to give money to.
But you already did. You didn't do anything different. You didn't work any different. It was just the messaging.
Correct. Yeah, how I portrayed it. Okay. Like, instead of, like, I would go in with, like, way more humility than maybe I should have, making us sound like a startup with a team that's been with me since day one and fighting against the world. That's all still true. But that was what I would lead with. Whereas now, I'll be like, Nielsen ratings... Here's our return on investment. Here's what everyone's saying. Here's a list of sponsors. I'll close my eyes and let you pick which one you want to talk to and ask them what they think about our work ethic.
Oh, and by the way, it's me and 3 dudes that make this whole thing.
I still leave that out. But that was the thing, too, is, like, so to that point, like, when we were first getting on the big network and stuff, we started, like, extending the credits to people we knew, like, to make us look like a bigger product, because they were very reluctant, like, why should we trust you? Like, because once they put that airtime in, once they put those slots in, the person that signed us and wrote the check, they're held accountable for that now at their company. So if I flop, they flop.
Yeah.
So it's like, and it's cutthroat.
So you did, your first season came out in, was it 23 then?
Yep, on History Channel.
Channel.
We've been around for 10 years, but yeah.
Right. But so History Channel, your first break was 2023.
Yeah, and then 24,
they renewed
and now
you in 24. 25.
That was even cutthroat. So when we first started, like when we
because what was it? So the first year you did the thing. Hey, I'm going to film my own stuff. I'm going to own my own stuff. I'm going to give you the ability or the rights to air it.
Correct. Yeah.
So then they came back and they wanted to take it over, right? Or no?
Yeah. So it was more cutthroat than that. So when anytime you're exchanging money and stuff like that, we went in and they're like, listen, we're going to give you guys an opportunity, but the way television works, this isn't Sportsman Channel. This isn't Outdoor Channel where it's like everybody gets a show. Like this is you're dealing with the big dogs now, and they're like, listen, these are the ratings right now for our number one show. And I think at the time it might have been Swamp People or it might have been Alone. One of the top shows. They're like, this is the top show. This is their numbers. We're projecting your show will do somewhere between 64 and 71% of what they're doing as far as like viewership, apples to apples.
And this is when you're putting this whole thing together in 22, early 23.
Correct.
Okay.
They said that's what we project. So 63 or 64 to 71. I remember it was 71. And I said, okay. They said, however, if any episodes, one of them this season, goes below 70%,
63 to 71.
It was their projection.
Okay. But if anything drops
Below 70 on any episode, then we're cut immediately, dead in the water, done. It's like, that's what you didn't know. Yeah, because I couldn't tell any. So I had to operate where I'm like.
So they told you, like, between that range of 63 to 71.
That's our projections for you.
They basically gave you, like, 30% chance or 20% chance of
making
succeeding.
it. Yeah. So that was the first week. And I remember we were, like, terrified. So everyone was like, are you so excited to be on the History Channel? I'm like, not even a little bit.
So you'd already had the
terrified.
whole season shot and wrapped, ready to go out.
So when we came to that conclusion, I think we didn't have a single episode filmed yet.
Okay.
But we knew what we were going to do. You know, we're very organized in that sense.
Yeah.
Like we knew our schedule, but like we were negotiating well before we went into filming because we had to present the 10 episodes and go through it with them. And they had pushback on a lot of them. Matter of fact, when we sent the first one in was a bison episode, we sent that in. They had 81 critiques.
You caught shit about that too at the same.
Yeah. Well, bison's so interesting.
But the way that you hunted that bison's no different than what natives hunted that bison 3,000 years ago.
Correct. And in a way,
as an aside, right?
Yeah,
like
but
they've always been that type of.
His argument to that was like the Comanches, which were incredible horsemen and archery hunters, would go in and shoot them hanging off of horses and stuff. And that is true. But what he forgot to mention was they were actually herding them to fall off mountains because they're not smart. And matter of fact, when you shoot a bison, and Meat Eater did an episode on it, and I don't think he got any flack, but you shoot a bison, all the other one are like, what's wrong with him? And then start stomping. Like they're not scared of the sound. So then you shoot another. The more you shoot, they'll come running in to see why. They're not the brightest. Right,
yeah.
Like bison hunts aren't hard, but regardless, that's why they killed so many of them because you shoot one and more will come, so you can keep shooting them. It's the weirdest thing.
Were those hunted almost to extinction or no?
Yes, but that is not what actually put them close to extinction. That's what people think.
What was it?
And the premise of that episode was to kind of teach us, and I did get pushback on this. We met with a veterinarian who only works on bison. Super great guy, and he's like a historian on top of it. Couldn't have been a better guest. And what he said is that the parasites. Malignant catarrhal fever and parasites and diseases that they would get, it would kill the bison so fast they couldn't even spread it to each other. They were getting it from parasites. But it would kill a bison. Like he would get it, and within a day he's dead. He wouldn't even pass it on yet. That actually killed more bison than all were hunted by white men and Native Americans. And what's interesting is, and the whole point of that episode is, that is why the bison is still threatened today. Those things still exist. It came over in sheep. So when we brought sheep over, that's what it actually did. So we wiped out the bison through disease. Now, don't get me wrong. People killed mass amounts.
What did History Channel not like about that?
It wasn't that point that they didn't like. The people we were arguing with online didn't like it.
Okay.
I've got a target on my back for everything.
Yeah.
If you say facts, you're going to get it. So
last time I checked, I don't think those people have their own TV show.
Yeah, but History Channel, the critiques that they had were all like production things and creative things that I disagreed with a lot. But I also had to like approach it like, am I being ego-based? Or am I like, so what can I take from this to improve? And we maybe took 10 or 11 of the critiques, and then I fought the battle on the other ones.
All right, so episode 1 drops. What were you of Swamp People? Just say Swamp People's number one show at the time. 70% was...
It was 81.
81.
Was our first week. Episode 1 and 2 were...
And they only aired at one time.
Yeah, 81% for the... So that was apples to apples.
Okay.
So that wasn't overall. That was just apples to apples because they aired right next to us. So they had the better time slot though too, which isn't fair.
So you were able to retain like 81% of that audience for the next show.
Correct.
Okay.
No. Actually, we created the 80. They set us up to fail.
You were before.
Yeah, which is not good because we were before garbage. And then we were before their bottom of the barrel show, then had to like pull us out of it. So basically, I knew it was going to take like social media pushes, reaching out to different brands and stuff like that. And that is like part of it was strategy of like working with companies. Like we hadn't signed a formal deal with you yet, which we had normally done. And I was like, we'll bring you on. Part of that is not only that I believe in the company, the other part is I needed these people to shout for me because I knew I needed the audience. So I'm like trying to corral all these pieces together using like that strategy. So I went to nonprofits, I went to main like organizations that I ended up partnering with, and I was like, here's what I can guarantee. The absolute best production quality in the world because my team is second to none, and what I can guarantee is I'm not going to fail. So it was tough having the meetings because here is the thing. This was in the back of my head. Because
if this whole thing, if you get
I'm out, and then I let everyone down. I was terrified, man. Yeah, and that was why when I said to you, because we didn't sign a formal deal until everything was already shot, filmed, and going out on History, if you remember. So I didn't want to take money from you until I knew it was going to be okay because I knew the relationship with you guys was going to last a long time.
So this was before your deal with RAM? It was before your deal with Bass
We
Pro?
had RAM.
We had RAM.
We had RAM. But I had to sell RAM that it was on the History Channel in order to get the same amount of, like the amount of money we wanted from them. I had to sell them that. I couldn't be like, by the way, we might get canceled. And not only that, I'm looking at the numbers and they're projecting 71%. And we didn't sleep well for like, and everyone's like, are you so excited you're on History Channel? I'm
so
like,
episode 1 was the bison?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Bison. And then turkey was third.
Okay.
Yeah. The one that we did with you guys. And it was a lot because you have to deliver for the partners. You have to deliver for the nonprofits. You have to take care of your people. Mm-hmm. And my entire reputation is poured on whether that number is above 70.
It's still that way today or no?
No.
Okay.
So after the first season, we were signed for 2 and 3. We've already aired 2 and we're filming 3 right. Oh, I take that back. We got signed for 1 more, and we did the second one. And now they're like, let's just do a 2-year deal so we don't have to do the paperwork again. So now it's like, now I can get away with what I want. They trust us creatively. It went from 81 changes every episode to like, Kyle, you shouldn't have shown that. Can you take that out?
81 changes? What's that mean?
The 81 changes.
Oh, the 81 changes.
Yeah, they had critiques on my on the first episode. They had 81 critiques. And I don't know about you. That's why I said I had to
81 things that they wanted you to change.
Nitpicking, yeah. And that's not shitting on them. Like it's their network, and
they want to protect what they're doing. They want to put out high quality content. Yeah.
But 81 changes. When we watched it, a lot of things too is like, you're dealing with people in New York or Los Angeles, and they also don't understand what you're doing. Like, they don't understand the content. Like, they're like, what's a turkey? I mean, that was actually said, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah.
That relationship will probably continue to grow.
It has. And now, like I said, now the freedom we have is a lot bigger. Like, now they pretty much are like, I don't even think we told them what we were filming this year until, like, we already had half of it filmed. So they're cool now.
But, the funny thing is, like, you'd never know. Like, the way your social media is, the way that you handle yourself, like, you never know that, like, and I say this in the most positive light possible. I know it may sound like I'm saying it negatively, but, like, you'd never know the horsepower that you and your team, like, truly generate and the respect that you've earned. Not only, everyone looks at it through the lens of, like, the Facebook guy. You're all over the country when the show airs.
Right.
But yet you're here in our shop. We're talking, like, almost daily.
Yeah.
Text everything else. It's an honor, like, to have you want to be a part of what we're doing.
The honor's mine.
It's been a fun last couple of years. I mean, there's been a lot of shit, but you were one of the good things that came out of a really shitty situation.
Thank you.
And for that, like, I told you before, like, I'm indebted to you guys, and it's just a great thing that we've got going.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm super grateful. Like, when the first time that I met Dirk and Meg, like, I felt like, when you meet people and you feel like you've known them your whole life, it was like that with them too. And I love them both, and I love the team here. But then meeting you and, like, learning about your story and kind of the difficulties that you were going through at the time, I won't get into it completely, but I saw my dad go through some really hard times, and I'll try not to get choked up talking about it. But when I met you, I saw a lot of him in you, and I saw a lot of like this company and seeing these people here, and I know what he went through to keep his company and his people safe, and how the world kept that from happening. And like I saw it here, and like I immediately felt like family, and I was like, I'm only one team, but we're gonna do everything we can to throw ourselves to help. If
70% was your drop dead, there's been times here that we've been, if 70% was our drop dead, we've been
69.5,
depending on the minute.
Right. And but yeah, so for me, it's an honor for me to work with you guys for a few reasons. One is being here. It makes me feel close to my dad, who's still around. It's not like he's not, but it makes me feel close to my dad. I feel like you guys are family, truly. And I love the product so much, and it's so superior to everything else. It's made in Michigan. It's like the perfect thing. And like we turned down, I was talking to Dirk, there's a major musician that we just turned down that we are not going to be filming for them, even though they're going to offer us a ton of money. We got another project that just offered us a ton of money, and I told all of them no, because we have our stuff and your stuff right now, and that's got to be our focus. Like, that's just, but at the end of the day, it's like I don't do anything I do for money, because money, God will always provide. I say it's the daily bread. You'll get just enough to get by if you're working on something that is either furthering the kingdom or furthering good people that are part of it. And you and I have had a lot of God talks lately too, which I appreciate.
They've been fun ones. And I was telling Meg yesterday, after I kind of gave the one that we just had, about the difference between Judaism and Christianity, and how some have to work a little harder than others, and some have more work to do now than they did back 3,000 years ago. Or whatever. But why people can't just get like this whole concept of like faith and religion, and like I was always brought up in Lutheran church, where it's like very, very strict, and you got to be here on Sundays.
I was Missouri Senate Lutheran.
So was I.
Yeah, nice.
I think so now I'm the Evangelical Lutheran Church at USCA. But even then, like,
you're allowed to sing now.
I have my own personal relationship, and a lot of it comes just by having conversations with normal people, you and my other buddies, and some are Catholic and everything else. So, but if people could just have normal conversations about like faith-driven stuff, and not go deep in the weeds where they feel like they need to be part of a club or have to like dress up in a suit and go to church every Sunday,
right?
And like it's not a membership requirement. It's not and I think that's an element of judgment that comes from the congregation. And I always felt like, without going too deep, that sometimes the people that are like the church going type every single Sunday are some of the most judgmental people you're ever going to meet. And the Bible taught me that judgment's reserved for one person. So part of the thing that's keeping me like so centered in the times I've been going through the last few years are like, I had every right to just scorch the earth and do everything negative. But it's like, that's not, the Christian part of me says that's not for me to decide and for me to exact. That's coming from somewhere else. Sure. I could be dead wrong, because at the same time my family's been attacked. My people have been attacked and everything else. But who knows?
When I think about it too, is like what you're saying about the church and that sort of thing is, when Jesus was here, he had a lot of run-ins with priests, and he had a lot of run-ins with churches, and he didn't get along with them all that well.
Did he really?
Oh yeah.
I never studied like that. I was never exposed to that. I know he flipped over the tables with the coin changers and all that, but I think that was like Jewish.
They were selling inside his father's house, as he put it.
And they were kind of screwing people. Like, they were coming to buy, like, the people that traveled distance to make their sacrifice. They were buying a sheep or a lamb or whatever, and then they would take the lamb back to be sacrificed. He'd walk around the block, and they'd sell it to some other poor schmuck that just came in. So it's like, how
does it still count? The intent was there, right? Right. That would be more like an offering then, as opposed to a sacrifice. But yeah, there is.
He argued with the priest, and he kind of went against the grain, huh?
Quite a bit. So one story specifically I always liked was Jesus was walking with the disciples, and they were going through a field that was on the Sabbath. And they were starving, and they hadn't seen food in a while, and they walked past a farm field, and they were grabbing grain and eating it. But by grabbing the grain, by definition, that's farming, and they were doing it on the Sabbath. And priests came and just started lighting them up for it. And he said, "O ye hypocrites." He said, so if your sheep fell in a hole on the Sabbath, you would just leave it in there? Like, use your head. And then his whole point was like, the rules weren't designed to just follow the rules. The rules were like parameters to love God. Like, I'm going to set aside the Sabbath for God. a sheep fell in a hole, of course I'm going to get it out. But the rest of the day is dedicated. It's like using common sense. So I think it's a good thing Jesus came for, obviously, to forgive our sins, but also for the fact of like, we were so by the book with the Bible that we just didn't quite, or at the Bible, the Old Testament, obviously, but we were so by the book at the time that like we weren't seeing it for what it really was. And that was something that would be like a summary of what was wrong with the priests of the time. You know,
and sometimes like, well, throughout duck season, every Sunday morning.
Yeah, you're duck hunting.
I'm duck hunting.
Yep.
And I'll look over to the east or southeast when I see that sun come up in the fall. And the backlighting and everything else, that's all I need for church for me, man. That's perfect.
Yep. Yeah, the relationship has to be there and strong. And honestly, it's like when I talked to my dad about it as far as organized religion, he said that organized religion always has to exist because otherwise when people need to go somewhere, where will they go? And I always felt that made a great point. So I think it's important to go to church, but I also think that I don't necessarily feel closest to God there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I was on a turkey hunting trip back in 2023. April of 23, I went down to Mexico. One of my good buddies took me down there. And we met this southern preacher man from Mississippi, Calvin Wheat. I want to get him on a show, and you got to be here when we do it.
Okay, cool.
But I was always raised like respect your pastors, ministers, that whole thing, and like they know more than you, so whatever they say, you believe. I was Lutheran from preschool.
Sure.
Well, this guy, you could ask him any question you had about the Bible,
and he had the answer.
He's 30 in his early 30s, is your age.
Oh wow!
He could quote chapter and verse and be able to not give one example, but about four, and tie this in and this in and this in and this. And before I knew it, I'm like, this guy has a gift that wasn't something he learned by reading the Bible. Like, he gets it.
Yep.
And he's one of those, like, inspirational guys. Like, super cool. You have a single question. Because there's been times where I've struggled with faith. Like, it's the last couple of years, it's been a bitch, to say the least.
People with extremely high IQs, too, tend to...
What did I do to deserve this?
Yeah.
You know, so, like, Job was... I asked Calvin, I'm like, Calvin, how long was Job tormented for? He's like, depending on how you look at it, and he starts going all over the place, it works out to about 3.5 years.
Okay.
I'm like, well, he and I are running like neck and neck here, man. But
you're like, come on, 2026.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, we'll be good shape. But no, Calvin's one of those guys that like reignited that passion, just like the ability to like be able to talk, like even with people that aren't like church going folks. I don't really go to church as often as I see. That's the guilt. As often as I should.
Yeah.
But at the same time,
having the relationship with God is all you really need.
And does that sometimes fly in the face of like the History Channel? Like, that's because you have that Christian message in every single episode.
It's a great point. So every episode
we can wrap on this.
Yeah, every episode we include a Bible verse at the end of the show, and the way that I call it, planting mustard seeds, which is like a biblical story as well. The mustard seed's a very small seed that can grow so big it can rip mountains apart, like the roots can.
Oh,
yeah. So that's like, they say like mustard seeds of faith is like you plant this little seed. So people follow along with our show, and there's typically like something we learned or a message in the show that ties together with what we dealt with. And I like to summarize what we did with that message, and the audience will definitely relate because they couldn't not unless they were not paying attention. But then I add a Bible verse in that coincides with it to kind of give that confirmation. I call it planting mustard seeds with people that they hear that and they're like, oh, okay. You know, maybe it just plants that little seed that later on might grow and germinate into something else. So that's why we include that in every episode. I will say, though, History Channel, no pushback. And matter of fact, if there's a partner that I work with, if you look at our website and there's a partner that we work with, every one of them is happy we do it. And that includes Ram Trucks, which you got to give them credit for because there was another company that was a no on it.
Really?
And there's been plenty of companies that were no on it. Matter of fact, I'd be making a heck of a lot more money, and I would have been on another big giant network a lot sooner if I was willing to take that out. So
not worth it.
No, because I know the second I take it out, my whole life's over. You know what I mean? Because that's it. It's like not even a question. You know what I mean? It's like give up everything, and and it says you deny me to the world. You're
not taking that deal.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Not enough money for an eternity.
Well, the world needs more guys like you doing cool stuff like what you're doing. But in the meanwhile, we'll just keep on backing everything that you're up to. So
thank you, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Benny. Cool. Next time, guys. Later on.